From 4E TV. I'm Dr. Mark, and this is my beautiful, beautiful wife, Dr. Michele. Isn't she pretty? I tell you what, I'm just stunned every time I look over there with all of her beauty. We are M&M without the sugar. We say that because we like to have fun with you, but reality is we want you to understand that sugars, or too much of the refined sugars, are inflammatory. Inflammation is the birth of disease. So we want you to understand too much sugar will cause you problems. It doesn't just cause you problems, it will kill you. So that's kind of became something we stood for, M&M without the sugar. You know, just a reminder, at 4E TV, we are about the 4 elements of health: physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. We're a 4-part person. It's important that we give each part attention on a daily basis, so we will experience something called peace. We don't have peace. We call that a state of dis-ease. And you know, I don't like a state of dis-ease. Sometimes we call it stress, but in reality, that's a big old name for a disease. We don't need to live like that. It's not necessary. You know, here at 4E, we really want to equip you with the tools necessary to empower you to make better decisions. And so all of our discussions and talks are designed with that in mind. We want to give you the information in your life so that you can be vibrant and alive and healthy and be the person that you need to be. You know, we have talked a lot about inflammatory foods and even sugars and refined grains and things of that nature over and over again. And this won't be the last time you hear that. We're going to talk about a little bit different subject today, the antithesis of the inflammatory food. What about the anti-inflammatory foods? We've told you what not to eat, so today we're going to tell you what to eat. Now, just to back this up, as you know we always do, I have a scriptural reference with what we're talking about. The very beginning with God's creation explains us a powerful principle that we must keep in mind and must get today in our heart. If you can get this principle in your heart today, it will change the way you look at food, and it will change your relationship with food. So I have my Bible, and I want you to turn with me, if you will, in the very first chapter, the very first book of the Bible. Now, in this setting in Genesis chapter 1, you know, God's creating the earth. He's separating the expanse from the sky and the earth and the waters. He's putting it all together. And then he gets to the point on day 6. And day 6, these extraordinary things happen, because in day 5, he created the fish. And, you know, and I don't know. I get asked all the time, was that literal days? I don't know. And it really doesn't matter when you get right down to it. We just know that in God's ways and God's times, that's his. And we trust him. All we know is we're here right now to serve a purpose, and we believe we're in the right place at the right time, and I want you to know that you're in the right place at the right time. So just sit down and relax and give us about the next 20 minutes of your time, and I promise you it will not be wasted. It'll be time well spent, it'll be valuable for you, and you'll be glad you hung around. So in today's world, attention is hard to keep. You know, people can't keep attention 30 seconds. So I'm asking you to do yourself a favor. Do yourself a good favor and sit down and just listen. So on the 6th day, God starts really excelling his creation speed. And he creates man, he creates creatures, he creates all these things, the birds, and all this is going on. We get down to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 25. And I'm just going to, 26, and I'm just going to read these 5 verses here, and I just want you to really catch a theme that we're talking about today. Keeping in mind we're talking about anti-inflammatory foods. Genesis 1, 26 through 31. Listen carefully. Then God said, let us make man in our own image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over the earth, and over the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Listen carefully to 29. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. We've heard that word food twice in the last 3 verses, and it was so. Verse 31 says it all. And God saw all he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning the 6th day. You see, God did all this stuff, and it wasn't just okay. It wasn't just so-so. It wasn't just even good. He even looked at his own creation and said, it's very good. So, did he make a mistake? Did he make these plants in error? These plants with seeds? Did he just mess that all up? I think not. He said it's very good. So, when we talk about today's world, let's bring us fast forward thousands and thousands of years later. We talk about genetic modification. Think about this for a moment. God made it one way and said it was very good. When we talk about genetic modification, it's almost like saying, okay, we understand that's very good, but God, we can do it better. We want to modify your creation. We want to change it the way we want it because we can do better than you can. Fair question. Who's making a mistake here? I mean, you really have to answer that question. Who is making a mistake? Who is in error? Is it God with his intent? Or could it be us? Could it be us? I will say, without a doubt, it's us. Now, we stand loudly and boldly on this platform. And I can't make you stand anywhere other than where you want to stand. But you got to stand for something. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. In today's world, people are falling for everything. Did God make a mistake in the way he made food? That's what you must consider today for the next 15 or 20 minutes. Now, we talk about these foods, not just genetic modification, but the way that foods have been refined and processed and put together and pulled out of their natural form, specifically sugars, the refined grains, that wasn't the way God intended them. What happens to us? Inflammation. The best descriptor of inflammation that I could probably come up with is if someone, now let me preface this with this discussion. All inflammation is not bad. There is good and proper inflammation to help with healing, and there is inflammation that is bad that causes sickness and disease. As I was saying, the best description I can give you is when you get bruised or hit by something, it causes a bruise and it causes swelling. That is inflammation. It almost puts like a cast around an area to stop its functionality, to prevent its movement so that it can begin to heal. Something's wrong, something's broken, I need to fix it, and the body tries to go to work. If you keep trying to move that thing without allowing it to heal or keep putting more bruising on it, doesn't it make sense that the inflammation is going to increase and not get worse? We haven't allowed the body to heal because we continue to throw inflammatory things at that through those sugars, refined grains, and all these things that we eat, these processed foods, these genetic modified foods, we keep throw them at them and throw them at them and throw them at them. And the body still says no more. Now, our bodies are resilient. They are. You know, they'll adapt to a lot. They get rid of a lot. Our detoxification system is magnificent. We're able to evolve through situations and change over time. But know that God did not make a mistake when he packaged the food the way he did. He packaged it that way for a reason. So if he didn't package it that way, it's probably not a good thing to eat. You gotta look at it like that. So we've talked a lot about foods not to eat. So now, as promised, we're going to talk about foods that we should eat, foods that reduce the inflammation that causes sickness and disease. I'm talking about that poor inflammation, that bad inflammation. So, all right, we talked a lot about this before, the bad side. Let's talk about what we can do in regard to eating in an anti-inflammatory style or anti-inflammatory diet. What are some key foods that we should all be aware of?
First things first is, you know, where do we start with all that? We just try to start to stay close to Mother Nature with what God brought us in the first place. Fresh and raw fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, good clean protein. You know, good clean protein in the form of our oily fishes like salmon and mackerel and even sardines. Those fishes have a very high level of the omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are very essential for the health of the cell membranes. And what happens in our standard American diet is we get way too many omega-6s. Those omega-6s are extremely inflammatory and they inflame our cell membranes. Those omega-6s need to be replaced, or that ratio needs to be brought down to about 3 to 1. In the standard American diet, that omega-6 to 3 ratio is like 20 to 1. So by putting more oily fish in your diet, now you are starting to change oil in the engine of your car, and you're starting to replace your cell membranes with good, healthy oil, which makes them fluid and communicative. They like to talk to each other. Your cells now talk to each other. They communicate back and forth as to what they should do and what their processes are. So those omega-3s in the form of good oily fishes are extremely important.
Yeah, and you know, let me preface our discussion today. We're going to give you a lot of information regarding anti-inflammatory food. There's no way we're going to get through it. But on our website, we have a blog on there that you can check out. It has a whole list of anti-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory diet you can begin to eat. So, you know, avail yourself to that. You know, get on there and print that thing off, bookmark it, and go to it. So we're going to cover as many as we can today. So when we talk about these oily fishes, you know, obviously my discussion or my questioning would go in the area of, we eat fish every day. If we don't eat fish every day, what is supplementation in regard to its role in this omega-3 platform?
Well, in regard to the omega-3s, you want to pick up an omega-3 product that actually has some power to it. So you go to the store, you say, I want my fish pills, I want my fish oil, and you turn the label over and look on the back of it. You can be very deceived if you're not careful about what's in the bottle. When you buy a bottle of fish oil, you crack the lid, it should not smell like fish. If it smells like fish, it's already a rancid oil. The other thing, and that's kind of what causes that burping and belching, is if you're taking in rancid oil, your GI tract, your GI system is going to have a little trouble with it. The other thing you want to look for is you want to look to make sure that you have the essential fatty acids in there. There are 2 essential fatty acids that your body cannot make. It has to get from the outside. So if you're deficient in your omega-3 fatty acids, your body is going to be inflamed. So you want to look on the label for EPA and DHA, icosapentaenoic acid and dexahexapentaenoic acid. You want to make sure that those omega-3s are in your oil, your EPA and your DHA.
Look, whatever those words were, man, those were big words, DHA, EPA. That was impressive, by the way. I was just amazed how to rattle that off. That was amazing. Okay, sorry to interrupt you. That was just fascinating. I get amazed by my wife sometimes. It's all good. Okay, continue, please.
So if they say on the back of the bottle that this fish pill contains 1 gram of omega-3s, you want to make sure that those numbers are coming from your EPA and DHA. If you buy a pill that says 600 EPA, 400 DHA, 1 gram, that's a pretty potent pill. If you buy one that says 50 EPA and 50 DHA, that's 100 milligrams in milligrams in one pill. So you are getting cheated by not paying attention or not knowing what to buy in your fish oil. The other omegas, there's a lot of other omegas, they can pile that fish oil full of other omegas to make it equal to 1 gram. A couple other things that are very important about a fish oil. A true triglyceride fish oil is going to have a bioavailability, which means it is absorbed much better than an ethyl ester. So you want a true triglyceride fish oil, and if you want to top it off, look for lipase in your supplement. So you look for EPA, DHA, add those numbers up. You want to look for a true triglyceride, and you want to have a little lipase. That lipase aids the digestion and the breakdown of fat. That lipase is normally produced by the pancreas, but in a really good solid supplement, that supplement will have a little lipase in it.
Yeah, and you know what Dr. Michele is talking about regarding the fish oils is when we use the words true triglyceride, if the fish oil is 90% or better triglyceride bound, that classifies as true triglyceride. If it's 60% or better, it's triglyceride. So you can see that true triglyceride is a little bit higher potency of the triglyceride level than the standard triglyceride, but you have to get to 60 to actually qualify to put triglyceride on there. With that said, true triglyceride form is 15 times more absorbable than the ethyl ester form. It's interesting to know that ethyl ester is a little bit digestive resistant in a sense, so I find that fascinating. Another thing to keep in mind too is the dosage of fish oil. As she was saying, 1 gram, it could be 600 EPA and 400 DHA. That is 1,000 milligrams. 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. So we oftentimes tell people to take a certain level, and if they're not careful, they'll go out and buy a jug of these fish oil capsules, gel caps, and each gel cap may have, you know, 300 or 400 or 500 milligrams in it, but if we tell them to take 5 grams of fish oil and the gel cap only has 500 milligrams, they're going to be taking 10 gel caps throughout the course of the day, and that doesn't help with compliance, nor does the rancidity of that. If it's horrible, they're not going to eat it, right?
Right, and then the more oil that you have in your system, your digestive system can, you know, burp it, belch it, and have discomfort in that arena as well.
Hence the inclusion of lipase in that.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so fish is good. What are some other ones we can eat?
Well, if you look at your green vegetables like kelp, we don't often put seaweed in our diet, but kelp has fucoidan in it, which is anti-inflammatory. It aids bringing inflammation in the joints down. You look at all of your green vegetables. Your green vegetables are your alkalizers. Our bodies have a tendency to run a little acidic if we take in that standard American lifestyle, because those are all processed, packaged foods which have additives, preservatives. Our bodies create extreme metabolic waste products when we're trying to get rid of and detoxify the standard American diet. So our bodies are a little acidic. Those green vegetables help to alkalize the system and bring that pH into a more neutral balance. And when our pH runs a little bit more on the alkaline side, we have less joint pain, less aches, and the minerals are not leached out of the bones to try to alkalize the toxicity that comes from eating a standard American lifestyle. And we have a tendency to kind of stay away from green vegetables. We, like as children, prophesy over the fact that we don't like them, or that taste is not good, we don't enjoy the taste, but instead we are starving our metabolic engine of where the dense nutrients are, and those are in our green vegetables and in our antioxidant fruits.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that whole thing about speaking. You know, when I was a kid, I'm sure you were too, you hear other people or even yourself, I said this, I don't like vegetables. You know, parents, don't allow your kids to speak that, and don't you speak that over your life. because I understand taste is something that you acquire, that you get used to over time. Don't say that. Work, work, work to get to the point where you can say, I love vegetables. I need green vegetables. They're good for me. I need them because they help my body work well. They preserve my temple so that I can be alive. They keep me healthy. They help me to hurt less. So that's important. Good point.
You know, and when our bodies don't get enough nutrition at the foundation from the roots up, then things start to ache, bones start to hurt, joints start to hurt. And where do we get those nutrients from? It's not in the boxed and the packaged foods. It's actually in our really nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables.
Okay, so we've talked about the fish oils and the fish oil supplements, and then the kelp, seaweed, the greens, the kales of the world. I hear talk about this idea of a turmeric. Can you explain to everyone what turmeric is and where it comes from?
Turmeric is an Asian spice that's commonly found in, you know, different curry powders and mixes, but it is also now utilized as a supplement to fight inflammation, as it's got a very powerful antioxidant slash flavonoid, curcumin, in it. And that has been shown to really down-regulate the pathways of inflammation. In fact, in some of my athletes, we've got them on as much as 900 milligrams a day of turmeric to decrease post-exercise muscle soreness or decrease delayed onset muscle soreness. Curcumin is very powerful in its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effect. Yeah,
and it's really important too. You don't just have to eat your anti-inflammatories. You can drink them too, right? I like a good glass of tea. What are a good tea that has a good anti-inflammatory property to it?
Well, it's our good famous green tea. Make sure you pick up a green tea that has not been processed, that you have a clean organic green tea which contains the anti-inflammatories in it, and it's also got the EGCG in it. Green tea can be very effective in being antiviral, antibacterial, really anything that ails you. It's a much better replacement for drinking excessive amounts of coffee, because we know, we've talked before about the effects and the components of coffee that can be destroying to the GI gut lining. It can be one of the deadly sins in someone who has irritable bowel, inflammatory, ulcerative colitis, and gut disease. So switching from a caffeinated coffee to a green tea can have anti-inflammatory effects on the gut and the systemic system, joints and muscles as well.
All right, what about fruits? Is there any fruits that people can eat that have anti-inflammatory properties?
Well, fruits are great. We know fruit is great. We have to be careful with that glycemic index of fruit. We speak to too much sugar, too long, too strong all the time causes metabolic syndrome, obesity, and diabetes. But there are a lot of benefits to our antioxidant-dense berries like blueberries, like blackberries, like raspberries. These are excellent in containing your antioxidants, which are there to fight oxidative stress and the oxidative stress that comes from free radical damage just from metabolism and daily living. So if we're not getting good antioxidant support, that radical damage is destroying our tissues and possibly causing a baseline systemic inflammation if we don't get enough of our antioxidants from good fruit. Another fruit that is very, very effective is papaya. Papaya contains an enzyme, papain, which is good for the digestion of protein in the gut. If we get good digestion, our food is not sitting on our gut and staying there for long periods of time, causing inflammation in the gut. Remember, digestion is very important. If we don't have a good digestive system and our gut is upset because it can't digest food very well, then our gut is going to be inflamed. And if our gut is inflamed, it is setting the rest of our system into a systemic inflammatory system.
Okay, there's a lot of talk about the companionship in the same light with papaya, this fruit called pineapple. So tell me about what pineapple has in it that actually acts as an inflammatory agent.
Well, pineapple
Anti-inflammatory.
contains bromelain. So, and bromelain is also a protein digestive aid. So if we get better breakdown of our protein, better digestion, you know, protein is the building blocks of life. We want to have a very high amino acid score, or very complete amino acid score, so that we can rebuild our tissues from the ground up. We want to have all our building blocks available so we have strong muscles, strong bones, strong connective tissue. And that comes from getting good quality protein into our systems, but we have to be able to break our protein down, and pineapple does have one of those enzymes in it. Why do they always have you have a piece of pineapple after you've eaten a big steak meal? They'll bring you that piece of pineapple for the aid of digestion.
Well, I never thought about that, you know, but they do. And you know, I even enjoy a nice piece of meat with a piece of pineapple on it. I've had like chicken breast with pineapple on top. And I never realized, well, we say burgers, but I'm not going to.
Turkey burger.
Turkey burger, veggie burger, I don't know. You know, but now we understand the role of pineapple in that with the bromelain. It's really important. You know, God didn't mess up, did he? He knew what he was doing with the fruits.
Perfectly perfect, all the time.
You know, when he says it's very good, I really, really think that he means it. You know, there's a bunch more that we could talk about. I knew we were going to run out of time with this one.
Right. Well, it all boils down: clean protein, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Everything that God made perfectly.
He did a pretty good job. I think we need to get out of the habit of questioning him and trying to do things better. You know, that the definition of trying to do things better, going back to our scriptures that we talked about before, is thinking we're better and smarter than him. And that is a great place to be if you want to be very prideful. You know, we need to really make a habit of looking ourselves in the mirror on a daily basis and be honest and say that we don't know more than God knows. And when we can just do that, we can begin to listen to him and trust him, and hopefully we can begin to get free again. Fruits and vegetables, the way God made them, is really awesome. I mean, you look at the things we talked about today, and, you know, I think 4 out of the 5 was fruits and vegetables. That's not a coincidence, you know, so we want you to put these in your diet. Put them in your protein shakes, put them in your nutritional protocol throughout the day, and see what happens. You want to hurt less? I hope so. You know, put on some anti-inflammatory foods and get rid of the inflammatory foods. I want you to be at peace. We want you to be free. And friends, it's about doing the right things, keeping the right things out, and putting the right things in. What you fill yourself with, you will become. For today, we got to go. It's running out of time. Dr. Mark and Dr. Michele, we will catch you later. Take care.